biggest private jazz collection in the country, and I love jazz and I love music, black music in particular, but classical as well. And I used to spend my whole time making these compilations on cassette, as it was then. Obviously, you do it on CD now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had this very quirky. In a way, it was a conventional middle class upbringing. In other ways, it was anything but. And you know, I always dreamt of having things like fish fingers and alpha bites.
So that's what we have, fish fingers.
Well, maybe your mum can prepare me some.
Mum, if you're listening, fish fingers, please.
I loved fish fingers as a child because I never had them, and I had this
Really?
friend called Robert who, his mother did alpha bites and spaghetti hoops, and my mum was doing sort of linguine and polenta and you know, things like that, as well as corned beef hash and shepherd's pie and English things as well. So I had this international childhood in London. I then ended up going to this very bizarre sort of minor boarding school in Berkshire, which was a bit like Hogwarts, and not a grand school, but a boarding school. And I arrived thinking, oh my God, can I do this? A bit like when I went into the Big Brother house.
Yeah.
But it was the best thing I ever did, because there was a bit of an age gap between me and my sisters. And I suddenly found myself in this boarding school with all these little brothers that I never had to play with. And, you know, I suppose I was always a bit of a rebel. I was never conventional, you know. I got out of doing sports because I wasn't into sports. I was very into music, and I played the piano and the organ and sang in the choir and all that stuff. So yeah, I've always led an unusual life. Then I went to university, ended up doing a master's in St Andrews in modern history.
Nice.
Which could sound really boring, but it's just because I love people and I love to know about their lives and why people...
See, it doesn't sound boring. To me, it sounds interesting. Like, I'll be honest, I sort of screwed my life up, you know. I was a very bad kid in school and stuff. So
I was a very bad kid in school as well, Jamie.
I would, if I genuinely wish I could go to university and sort of get a degree and stuff.
Well, why not? You're only
know.
out of nappies. There's plenty of time.
Well, there is. Well, going into Big Brother then, you know, the main reason you're in the public eye now because of Big Brother, etc. You know, sort of what made you just, you know, go in for Big Brother? Have you watched it in the past?
I obviously knew of the programme. In fact, I remember I was on a tube train in London when the first series aired literally 10 years ago, and all my friends were talking about it, and I was one of those kids, I always pretended I was too cool for school, so whatever everyone else was talking about, I pretended I hadn't heard of it, even if I had. And anyway, everyone was banging on about Big Brother, and I was like, Big Brother? I don't even know what it is. What's Big Brother? You know, it's something to do with George Orwell in 1984, and I was very pompous about it, but secretly, obviously.
Yeah.
I didn't really watch it, but I followed bits and pieces. And I thought to myself, you know, this is an interesting thing. It's chucking a load of people in a capsule almost, people that are programmed not to get on with each other, which is an interesting proposition in itself. And so I saw bits and pieces of it, and, you know, I finished university a few years later, because I was only about 19 when the first Big Brother came out, and I finished university and I came to London afterwards. And, you know, I realised that television was what I really wanted to do with my life, probably because of lack of being able to do anything else.
Yeah.
You know, any office jobs I had done, I was terrible. I'd get fired within about 3 days. I'd start riots. I'd tell people to go on strike. I was the wrong sort of person to have in an office. And then I thought I should be at Christie's, South Kensington, because I loved art and I loved objects and all these sorts of things. So I did a great internship there. And I was there for 3 months, and I came out with loads and loads of friends. But my supervisor, this Irish American called Daniel Gallen, said, look, you know, you need to go and do something where you can just talk for a living, because you're just too inefficient. I was handling all these beautiful objects. I was amazed I never broke anything, because I can be a bit of a klutz. And I had all these amazing objects. And I loved looking at them, but I just spent my whole time looking and studying them, and I just wasn't efficient. So this guy told me, he said, look, you know, go and, you know, make some money, collect these things, but don't do it as a living. And so, you know, I'd always loved drama at school, I'd always loved musicals, I had always, you know, done bits and pieces, and I just thought, well, telly offers you the opportunity, potentially, to earn a living being yourself. So that's what I decided I wanted to do. I obviously did the route that a lot of other people have done of doing extra work. I was in The Queen as an extra, the film The Queen as well.
Oh, really?
There's press secretaries. And I remember arriving on set that day, and they said, just come in your own suit. So I thought, great, I've got loads of suits. And I arrived, and the guy said to me, you know, you're meant to be a Labour press secretary. I said, really? Well, what's the problem? He said, you've got a very Tory tie. So I got my lovely I didn't know whatever it was. Yves Saint Laurent tie was whipped off me, and I got given this horrible red sort of Gordon Brown tie that I had to put on. So yeah, I did the usual route of commercials. I did a tennis commercial, Heat magazine, a few bits and pieces, and yeah, I just started thinking more and more TV is what I want to do with my life, and you know, it's not going to happen overnight. You've got to do the bits and pieces that come.
Took 8 weeks to, you know, not overnight, but 8 weeks mostly.
8 weeks of hell, Jamie.
8 weeks
sleeping next to Steve the Snorer.
What was that like, actually? Was it
Steve the Snorer?
Yeah.
Yes, well, I was going to say, I envisaged being a vet, putting him down and giving him Valium. But,
bless him.
No, anyway, I got a call from someone just after Christmas, a friend of mine who had produced me on Ladette to Lady and a few other shows, and she said, you know, I'm working on the final production of Big Brother. Have you ever considered it? And I think my reaction was to laugh. I said, I'd be hopeless at Big Brother. You know, I can't do tasks. I can't do sports. I'm hopeless. I get up when I want. I go to bed when I want. I'm not a team player, all this sort of stuff. And anyway, this particular friend of mine just convinced me, and she said, look, just go to the audition and see what happens.
And here you are today.
Amazingly, here I am.
So, you know, like going into Big Brother, obviously this year they did it completely different compared to all the other years. Like this year, nobody really knew who was going in, etc. They had the whole crowd outside. You know, what was the actual build up like? You know, was you allowed to tell people, things like that? You know, did you know that you was going to go in?
In a weird way, Jamie, the most exciting thing about Big Brother was the actual audition process, because you felt a bit like a Russian spy. You sort of got these little calls saying things like, meet me in Starbucks, Shepherd's Bush, Broadway.
Serious?
That was literally like that. And then I said to them, I said, well, you know, how will I know who to find? And this particular voice said, I'll be with an orange umbrella. You think my friends listening will think I'm making it up? They think I've got into my spy stories. That's literally the way it was.
Oh my god!
And it was exciting because you'd literally turn up and you were meant to tell absolutely no one. And as you probably know, you're obviously more knowledgeable about this than I am. There were people in previous series who were all lined up to do it. And then actually got kicked out like 3 days before the start of the show because they had told too many people.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I think you probably know who I mean. I don't know, last year's series or the series before.
Oh, I can't actually remember.
Any
Still.
Big Brother boffins ringing now.
Yeah, if anybody is out there that knows, get in touch and well, then I'll know who it is. But yeah.
I was obviously told to tell absolutely no one.
Really?
And for a long time I didn't, which was really tough for me.
It must have been hard, yeah.
I've got really good friends that are a bit like my London family who I tell everything to. But I think the truth was, Jamie, I didn't think I'd end up doing it. I think they'd look at me thinking, oh my God, this stubborn bastard. You know, he's going to be a pain in the arse. We want people that have been gunning their whole lives to do Big Brother, not a sort of lethargic fop who lies around in his dressing gown, sort of not knowing what day of the week it is. And so I never thought I would do it. But I obviously consulted a few people early on and a few of my very good friends, and the weird thing is almost all of my friends said, you've got to do it, this is, you know, your best chance, you've just got to do it. And all my family, Jamie, said, don't do it, it will be a disaster, you'll be a pariah, you know, we'll all have to go and live in Siberia or Mongolia or Basildon or somewhere like that. And so yeah, I had this thing in my conscious wrestling for about 3 weeks beforehand. Shall I do it, shall I not do it? And then ultimately I just thought to myself, well, in fact it's due to some of my good friends, one of whom I know is listening, it's better, my one bit of philosophy of the night, Jamie, it's better to regret something you have done than to regret something you haven't. So that's why I did it in the end, and by God it was difficult at times, but here I am in Bow having your mum's Maltesers.
That sounds so wrong.
It does sound wrong, but they're very nice.
Anyway, so, you know, the build up of Big Brother then, on the actual day of going in, you know, like, what we see is, you know, what happens from the time it goes on air, 9 o'clock. What happens before that then? Do you have to, like, literally turn up in the morning from your normal house, or do you have to stay in a hotel? Things like that. Are you under strict rules before you actually go in the house?
It was a very weird experience. I mean, only someone perverse like me would actually sort of enjoy it. Basically, I was meant to arrive on the Monday morning early. Before Big Brother started on the Wednesday, and I was meant to arrive on the Monday morning. I had actually been at a friend's wedding over the weekend, and everyone else was like, you can't go to the wedding, you know, you might be doing Big Brother. And I was like, I might not be doing Big Brother.
Yeah.
I've got to have some friends when I come out, so of course I'm going to go to the wedding. And I went to this wedding, and I didn't get back till very late on Sunday night. Monday, I was literally hysterical. I was just so... I'm not a nervy person, but I get frustrated if I don't know whether I've made the right decision, because most things in life, I know if I've done the right thing or not. With this, I generally didn't. So Monday was a very weird day. I literally was faffing around, you know, packing, you know, spent about 100 quid in boots, because obviously you don't know how long you're going to be in there.
Yeah.
And a very close friend of mine, my friend Ben, came and basically helped me pack and sort of got me ready all day. And I was a nightmare to deal with that day. I've never been like that before. Then I was picked up in a car about 9 o'clock, got whisked off to the Holiday Inn in Elstree, and the first thing you have to do is hand over your telephone.
Oh, see, I did apply for Big Brother, right? But
Did you?
I was 17 at the time, and it was like...
You should have lied, everyone else did.
No, well, I would have been 18 by the time it aired, so, you know, I thought, okay, I'll apply. But then I was a bit nervous about doing it, but I didn't hear anything back, because I didn't go to the actual audition. I just declined and didn't go. You know, I do, in a way, wish I went now.
God, well, I wish you'd been in the house and I would have had someone to talk to.
Well, yeah.
Although, of course, I had Dave and Laura. But
good old Dave.
Good old Dave. So much love in my belly for you. So much love. Glory.
Bless him.
I think we're coming on to him later. But no, you have to hand over your phone. And, you know, I'm sort of addicted to my phone. I'm a freelance. I worked in newspapers and bits and pieces. And, you know, my life is my telephone. And I had to hand this over. And it was weird. It was like having an umbilical cord cut. But in another way, it was strangely liberating because, you know, I spent my whole time checking my bloody phone. My parents to spare with me. I was on a skiing holiday with them this Christmas, and my mum went nuts. She's like, you're going through the sort of Transalpine pass in Switzerland. You're checking your text messages from your little friends in London. It's bizarre. So I handed over my phone, and then you're in what I called quarantine and everyone else called lockdown for about 2 days. And yeah, it's really weird. It's back to school again. It reminds me of going to the young enterprise at other schools, whereby you're in your little groups and there's a team leader, and it's really weird. I mean, me being me, I just sort of lounged around, you know, sort of reading my Jilly Cooper book and in my own little world. But there was real angst amongst some people. Are we going in? Are we not going in?
Yeah.
I think I was always quite philosophical. If I went in, it could be a tremendous experience. And if I didn't go in, you know, I'd have all my June and July parties in London.
So what is it like? Obviously, you say you was in quarantine for the 2 days. Could you like literally not leave the hotel to do what you want? You had to be, you know, do what they want you to do.
It wasn't even the hotel. I love being in hotels. That would have been simple. We were woken up. I mean, I'm not good at early starts, and we were literally woken up at like 6 in the morning, 6 o'clock starts, and we were taken over to Elstree Studios, where we were literally divided into groups of about 12 and locked in rooms with our team leader. And you did very little all day apart from chat to each other, come up with little games, and yeah, I mean, there was practical things to do, like they put tapes over all of your aftershaves and all of your lotions and potions, because obviously no branding in the Big Brother house. So yeah, it was like a weird mixture of a sort of Hertfordshire version of Butlins and being back at school, and that was the way it was until the launch night when we learnt our fate.
That's pretty. It sounds very. What's the word? What's a good word to use? Like It sounds good, like, in the long term, it's good, but I couldn't,
It was weird.
Yeah, that's you know.
I mean, for some of your listeners who are into films, it was a bit like A Clockwork Orange, the Stanley Kubrick film, because you're in this, like, hideous sort of 1970s studio complex of just endless corridors and just going to talk to psychiatrists and doctors the whole time. It was really weird. I tell you what was also interesting is, you know, there was just me lounging around reading my book and chatting to various people, making the odd acid comment, but some of the people were so obsessed with getting into the programme that they were on real tenterhooks.
Yeah.
And there was this one particular guy, I don't remember his name, but he was always like, he was obsessed with me being a plant. He said the whole time, something weird about you. You seem to know the producers. You're talking to people. I'm like, I always talk to people. He's like, you're talking to people. You seem to know the doctor. You seem to know the doctor. I said, yeah, it's worrying, isn't it? He's like, I think you're a plant. I think you're an actor. So there's a lot of that going on, you know. Who are you? Why did you come late?